Remember when Southwest Airlines was the last good airline?
No bag fees, no change fees, no seat fees.
That's officially over.
RIP.
As of today, assigned seat fees have rolled out. Anna, what are those? Because if we've been flying Southwest, we don't know what assigned seat fees are.
So they're not mandatory assigned seat fees, but you now can choose a seat in advance. There's a whole chart, there's a whole whether you want extra leg room, whether you want to be in the back of the plane, the front of the plane, wherever. There's a whole list now, but you can pay to get your seat assigned at Southwest, which I don't even think is the biggest offense to my system. The biggest offense is the bag fees.
Well, before you go on to bag fees, just seats for a second. Where is the best seat on an airplane?
I mean, obviously first class. Not that I know because I've only been one time in my life.
You have been in first class multiple times, including
Twice.
pregnant with children.
2 times. 2 times.
Okay. But when we've been offered free upgrades to first class, and I tell you, take you and a child, why do you not go?
Because the other children don't wanna be by themselves with your crabby ass.
Are all the seats the same? Really? Does it when it comes down to it?
No, they're not. You can tell that on Southwest, they are now offering the option to book extra legroom seats. We have booked extra legroom seats on Frontier, which is generally just the first few rows of the plane. And there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference in not only the leg room, but I feel like how you're situated in the seat once you put a bag under the seat in front of you. It's a whole new world.
Okay. But if there's any confusion, first class is the better seat.
I'm gonna say yeah.
Okay. All right. So what's the deal now with that other thing you mentioned? That we got seat fees and now we got bag fees? Don't we
We
just check
do.
our
So
bags and just let them all go?
up until up until the 28th of May, Southwest had no luggage fees. You could just go, you could take up to 2 bags for free, check them, they would take care of them, life was good. Starting the 28th, you now will pay $35 for your first checked bag, 45 for your second.
Okay. Are all bags the same? When you say bag, you mean bag, bag up above, bag on my feet, bag on my shoulder, all bag?
I said
Check
checked
bag.
bag.
Check
Yes.
bag. Okay. Can I still put a bag in the overhead and a bag under my feet and a bag on my shoulder?
On Southwest, you can have a personal item and 1 carry-on bag
Okay.
for free,
For
which is
free.
not the same on all airlines.
Okay. If I'm flying somewhere for 2 or 3 days, do I need a check bag or can I just take a carry-on bag?
I mean, that comes down to the kind of toiletries you have to bring. If I'm going for 3 days, even with my makeup and stuff, I can probably make it work.
Okay. So it really has a lot not only to do with the airline, but with TSA and what you can
Yeah.
carry on board.
Yeah, but for 2 or 3 days, you should be able to go with just a carry-on and a personal item.
Okay, here's why this matters. It's not just the fees out of your pocket. It has to do with the identity of Southwest because Southwest was this core identity of fast boarding, equal treatment, the what did you call it? The cattle car system?
It's like the corral, like everybody gets in the line, you're all in the same line. There are a couple different numbers based on your boarding group. It's just like a cattle chute. You get everybody in the same line. There is no, line up when it's group 1 or line up when it's group 2. It was here's group 1 through 50, everybody line up, and as you got on the plane, you picked whatever seat, which was the big motivation behind not only making sure that you checked in exactly at 24 hours ahead so that you got a earlier boarding group number, but then they started offering a for-fee service called Early Bird Check-in, where they checked you in at your 24-hour mark automatically. So you didn't have to be on the computer, on the app, or whatever to check yourself in. It was done for you. That was great if you were, on a cruise or you thought you were going to be busy or just the kind of person that forgot to check in 24 hours. But I think that was, for me, the first for-fee service I used with Southwest.
Okay, so Southwest isn't El Cheapo Airlines and it's not Rich Guy Airline. It's somewhere in
In between.
between. Okay. But in the end, prior to this change, because I've always asked this question, Why are you going to Southwest or El Cheapo Airlines and paying all these fees when you can just go to American Airlines and just get a flight that includes everything? Is it really a savings when it comes down to it in the end?
I mean, well, the problem was American didn't include everything. American still has bag fees. American still charges you to choose your seat.
But with American Airlines and their loyalty program, because we go all the way back to America West, all these years, all those miles of loyalty status that you built up, you get perks there. You get perks with their credit cards, which they have a ton of.
I think you're comparing, though, something like a Spirit Airlines, which advertises $19 from Philadelphia to Florida, but it's only $19 if you walk on the plane. You don't have a carry-on bag. You don't have a personal item. You don't have a checked bag. You don't get to choose your seat. There are extra fees for all of that stuff. So now your $19 flight is a $200 flight.
That's my perception, is that that's where people put Southwest. That
Yeah, I don't
all
think
of
they do.
these are, you don't think so?
I don't think Southwest comes to that level at all. Even now with the baggage fees, I don't think Southwest is any real different from an American or a United or a Delta, except for the fact that they had that cattle chute boarding system where you couldn't choose your seat. But now you've got the option to choose your seat.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with people who lived in Texas, which is where Southwest started. I mean, they were a Texas only airline. They always raved about it. But my thing was always, I just thought it was a hinky dink airline. And all of this nonsense of the standing in line and fighting to get a seat and all that stuff was just like, I'll pay $10 more. I just can't be bothered.
No, I always loved Southwest, but after the pandemic, for us flying out of Philadelphia, Southwest seemed to have decreased the number of flights, decreased the number of direct flights. It is a rare occasion where I find a direct flight from, say, Philly to Miami or Philly to Fort Lauderdale. So, with the amount of time you spend at the airport and waiting for flights and layovers and stuff like that, it stopped being worth it to me to fly Southwest.
Well, prior to the pandemic, that was where Southwest had their biggest time. I mean, they were heading towards 200 million passengers a year, which is huge. During the pandemic, Southwest didn't lay anybody off. They kept everybody working. They flew whatever flights they could. So kudos to them for that. But last year and now rolling into this year, there's a whole investment firm that bought up a huge chunk of control in Southwest Airlines. And they appointed a new board, new executives. They've got leadership team that came from American, United, Delta, so they're making it like those airlines that you put it in the bucket with those airlines. Well, now all these prices, that's because executives from those airlines are now running Southwest.
I guess my question though would be is this because Southwest was losing money and needs to make money, or is this because Southwest wants to make money?
Funny you should say that. Southwest was profitable for over 4 decades. After the pandemic, and now with this takeover of a huge block of the company and now the board, this is a profitable airline that somebody is going to squeeze even more profit out of. The problem is, in the end, is Southwest still going to be Southwest? Because the Southwest that you seem to like is the no bags, no seat fees, the cattle car thing. You could be sitting next to a millionaire or a billionaire who bought a ticket on there because we're all the same seats. All of that is going away, and it's going to be more like the airline where it's, all the major carriers. But Southwest was, 200 million passengers in a year is not a small amount. They had almost 800 airplanes. They're a huge
No, but
airline.
I mean, if everybody else has these fees, I don't begrudge Southwest for charging them, especially era where, to use a phrase that CNN has used, there's no more revenge travel. There is no more we've been cooped up for COVID for 2 years and now we're going out, we're doing stuff. We're taking back our lives, we're going back and doing stuff. Now you've got people that are looking at, am I going to get laid off? Is the store that I work for going to close? Is something going to happen that makes us as Americans encounter unfriendly situations crossing borders, going to Canada, going to Mexico, going to Europe. I think people now are more concerned about flying. So is Southwest being proactive and charging people that are flying these fees so that they can continue to employ the number of people they employ, continue to have operations the way they've been operating? I don't know.
No, the answer to that is absolutely no. The Elliott hedge fund is very clearly squeezing cash and profit out of Southwest and its customers. They've got the loyalty programs really are being stripped out. They've announced layoffs for 2025. We don't even know how many, but there will definitely be layoffs of employees at Southwest. And the person that's going to suffer the most are the family and budget travelers. This is that same sort of problem where if we can put people up in first class and the plane is profitable, all the people in the back just make us extra money. So the concern is make sure the first class seats are full and then everything else in the back is just candy. Well, then who cares how much you charge them? Because they got to fly. So if they got to fly, just keep charging them more and more.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with tariffs. Somebody's got to pay it. It's going to be the consumer.
So are you going to fly Southwest or are you going to be like, oh no, forget it. They're the same as everybody else. Or is your concern just what's available? You got to fly somewhere.
The priority is what's available. The second feature is where am I going to be most comfortable? And I've always liked Southwest. I think they've always had the friendliest flight attendants. You have not been a fan, but there have been flight attendants that will
No, I'm
sing
not a
to you.
fan. Singing flight attendants. That's a huge, they need to be laid off first.
Yeah, you've not liked the singing flight attendants or when they've done jokes during the announcements or anything like that. I've loved all of that. I thought that made the trip a little bit more fun. It just made them seem like friendlier people. I've been on planes where the flight attendants are just, they don't even crack a smile. Like, it's not fun. It's not friendly.
They're
You really
professional
feel
though.
like, huh?
They're professional.
You can be friendly and professional. I
And
just think Southwest was always just a better flight. I just always liked Southwest.
to
I
everybody that
can't.
watches this video, if you want me to stand up and start dancing, reply in the comments and I'll do it the next time. Because apparently that's professional because it's fun.
I mean, what is professional for a flight attendant? You have to be able to serve the drinks, serve the snacks, and get people off the plane if there's an emergency. Why can't you do it while you're having fun?
I mean, I'm not going to be the first one to booster the ranks of the flight attendant stewardess industry, but they do have a role in terms of safety of equipment and passengers. There are some crazy people out there. Oh, by the way, since we're talking about crazy people in airplanes, it was just announced earlier today. Do you remember the woman who wouldn't give up her seat for the crying baby?
Yes.
She started a lawsuit against all the people and the airline because of all the harm that she suffered because of it. And here's her main argument. I paid for the window seat. You should have not put her in a situation where other people can belittle her, mock her, film her, and make money with their clickbait online at the expense of this woman who was a paying passenger for that seat. The flight attendants should have shut that down. What do you
100%
think?
agree.
Okay, well
100% agree.
then that's a job of the flight attendants. They should be shutting down the nonsense. And unfortunately, there's a lot of nonsense on airplanes. Way more than 45 years ago when Southwest started in Texas.
I mean, there's also a lot of fees associated with airlines, and people don't want to pay them, and people are willing to take a chance if it means not paying. And it's not even cheap to pay for the seats. Some of them may be 15 or $16, but you're more likely to see 29, 39, even $59 to choose a seat on an airplane. And if I've chosen to pay for my seat, you getting on board at the last minute, not having chosen to purchase a seat ahead of time, you know that you're taking a risk. You know that you're making a gamble. And there are airlines, Frontier, I'm 100% sure, tells you that if you have a child over 5 years old, they don't guarantee if you don't pay for a seat that you'll be seated with that child. You almost have to pay for a seat.
Yeah.
And if you don't,
The
it's
bigger
on you.
concern is, well, that's the thing. The bigger concern is the person who doesn't to try and get away with it. And what do they do to ruin the
Well,
flight
and that's
experience?
exactly what happened to this woman. Somebody decided to just roll the dice, Hope that there weren't just middle seats left, because honestly, if anybody's paying for a seat, they're not paying for the middle seat unless you're traveling with somebody and you're going to sit next to them. But if you're solo traveling, you're never choosing the middle seat. So you're rolling the dice and hoping that when your flight, 24 hours, it's time to check in, that your airline assigns you seats together.
If you're going to keep flying Southwest, or if you never fly Southwest because you don't want to deal with those singing flight attendants, let us know in the comments below. Portside Politics, where you don't have to pay for the good seats.